Welcome to It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and early 80s. This is Kara Siegel.
Hello, I'd like to welcome in Celine Flinn Cunningham to the It's Been How Long podcast studio today. Hey, Celine.
Hi, Kara. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm great. And this is, I just mentioned it, but this is so fun. And I think definitely a lot of work for you, but certainly a labor of love for all of us that are listening. It is my 40-minute car ride that I listen to every Monday morning. So
Oh,
I haven't caught all of them, but I've enjoyed many, many of them. And it just brings back some really great memories. So I want to thank you. I know everybody has on the beginning of the podcast, but I really appreciate you doing this. And it's so fun bringing some entertainment and lots of laughs. And so thank you.
oh yeah, no, you're right. It's a labor of love. I've been having a lot of fun doing it. And just while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to shout out to Barbara Stewart, whose birthday it is today. And I know
Happy,
you know,
yes, I
I know
do. I
that
do.
too. Yeah.
We have a couple friends coming up this month. Betty Jane's is in a couple weeks too. So yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I enjoyed
Oh,
listening to them and probably
yeah.
repeating some of our memories.
Yeah, no, it's been fun getting different sides of like the same story, and I've heard it a few times, turning out that I interview people who overlap, so that's always interesting getting different viewpoints. So I'll start out as I always do. We're almost 44 years post graduation, and where are you and what keeps you busy?
Oh, well, you would never think, I would have never thought of it, but I'm in Maine. Least likely place for me. I live in Portland. I work in Lewiston, Maine, which unfortunately many people know about Lewiston this year, but I work at Bates College. I am the deputy athletic director. I've been in athletics more or less my whole career. Love it here. I'm a Jersey girl, so I'm yearning to get home. I still have a house in Jersey, have an
Oh,
apartment in Portland, and my husband and I do this crazy, commute once in a while. It's a couple months here, a couple months there. He can work remote. So we're making it work 6 years in. Always, I more or less spent most of my career in Jersey or New York City. So
okay.
um, never in my wildest dreams that I think I'd live in Maine.
So you're saying that that started 6 years ago? How did you, so you got a job there is what the,
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes. Yeah, and I mean, I'll start with my story, but
Yeah.
I was working. I went to Maryland,
Yes.
where Al Feldman. We had memories there for a short period of time together. Um, Played lacrosse and field hockey there. And actually, when you say different recollections, I remember Betty Jane talking about how we went on a recruiting trip. And the funny story is, it was really hers, and I kind of tagged along with my mom, and my mom loved it, and she hung out with the coach, and she really liked her, and um, I get home one day and she's like, "Oh, I talked to your coach. I told her you're going to Maryland. We're all set. You're committed. You're gonna get your scholarship letter." And I'm like, "Mom, really?" But great, great decision. I loved every minute of it. And my husband's a Terp, my son's a Terp. So I know how you feel about, I'm
In
assuming
Oahu.
Wahoo, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of trips down there in my college career because we were
Yeah.
ACC back then. So yeah, I went to Maryland. I played two sports and got really, had a really great experience. We won a national championship. We were in the finals 2 years
In
and
lacrosse or field hockey?
in lacrosse.
In
Field
lacrosse.
hockey, we were, yeah.
Okay.
Um, which is kind of funny because I went on a field hockey scholarship, but
Yeah.
really loved my experience. I'm making the US team, the US squad. So I
Oh,
played a year after college, try to navigate working and playing and trying to, stay training. So many times I wish I was in this era, and so many times I'm so happy I was in that era, but I could never have tried to support myself and try to, train to be in a World Cup, but loved my experience. Actually, Patty Owens, who's a year behind us, was on that team as well, she played at Princeton. So we had, a good experience there. And then I got a job coaching at Georgetown,
oh, okay.
pretty much out of college. I was assistant field hockey and lacrosse coach. Loved that. And I also, I love the DC area. I loved Maryland area. I did the Beltway all the way around. And then we got married. My husband's from Maryland, but we moved up to New York. He got a job in New York City. So actually, weird part of my career is I worked at Philip Morris, the tobacco company.
Oh yeah.
I did like
Were you in
wellness.
Richmond?
No, I was in New York City in their
Oh, okay.
headquarters.
Oh, okay.
And I worked in their corporate headquarters. I did all their stress testing for their corporate pilots and executives, did exercise programs,
Okay.
did like prenatal exercise. I did everything
Very
for,
cool.
yeah, I mean, I'm not, I don't smoke, not an avid fan of tobacco, but what a great company to work for. Had my 3 kids while I was there. So I was managing, being a working mom, which is so hard to do. But then the job at Columbia University opened up, and I was still in the city, and I stayed involved in lacrosse in all different capacities. And I was their first head coach.
Oh,
So that
wow.
was, yeah, that was really fun, growing a program, really great people there, great athletes that I still stay in touch with now. Which is, the best part of my job is my relationships with my student athletes. Then 9/11 happened.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
working in New York City. I saw the tower go down.
Wow.
It was a really tough time to be in the city.
Yeah.
And so there was an opening for a job in my town that I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey. And I was like, I want to see my kids play. I don't want to spend 2 hours commuting one way to work because they shut down the tunnels sometimes. And it was a really tough time for everybody.
Yeah.
But happy and got a job in Hoboken. I worked at a small D3 school. It's Stevens, a small engineering school. And I was there for 18 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, loved it. Loved coaching. We were good. We had successful teams, and I also was an administrator and loved it. And my kids went to school down the street. The Little League field was a block from campus. Spent most of my time there when I wasn't at work. It was great. And but I wanted to get out of coaching. It was it's a really tough profession. So anybody has kids and grandkids that are athletes, that have a little grace for the coaches, because it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard. So I wanted to go out feeling good about my experience. We had a really good team, went to the NCAAs, and I said, this is a good time. And the opportunity to just be an administrator and not do dual roles happened at Bates, which is a small school in New England, part of the NESCAC, which is a New England small colleges, really competitive athletic conference. So love it. I've been here 6 years, love my work, love our student athletes. I get to grow and learn every day. But I am interested in the whole retirement thing that everyone's talking about.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I can't imagine myself. I have to have a plan, because I don't sit well. I don't, I'm just, anyway. So that's a nutshell of my career. My family, I have been married for 34 years, five years. 3 really amazing, and I don't want to see kids anymore because they're all adults. And they live all over. So my youngest works in New York City. My other son that we talked briefly about lives in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
And then my daughter lives in Florida. So they're all over.
Oh, wow. Oh, so you stay busy just visiting your kids.
Yeah, and that's the joy of it. I get to travel with them all the time. So, and my daughter and I are big travelers. So one of the things we do, this is on the segue, and what do you like to do for fun? Okay, so I'm doing your podcast for you, but we hit baseball parks, so we're like 3/4 way done. My daughter and I, we're going to Cincinnati this year, but we're middle of the country we have to hit, but we've done the East Coast and the West Coast.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and kind of like our tradition, and girls weekend. So we always do something fun in the city, but get to see games and
get to see a ball game. That's great. Great. I've been to a number of stadiums, but have thought about that whole concept of trying to hit all of them. Not there yet.
It's worth it. It definitely is. Because I mean, we definitely go for the game. That's our plan, but there's so much to do in the city.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing people.
I had one summer where I took a 10-day, my husband travels for work, and took a 10-day trip, and I hated it because we had to pick up and go. We had 5 different stops over 10 days, and then packing up and going and get that was kind of crazy. But my goal was to eat like a dog in every stadium And we were in Texas and ended up in uh, Northern California at the opening of the new Giant Stadium. That was how long ago it was. And then down, and I think the Dodger dog, or maybe the Colorado Rocky dog, was one of the best. So
Well, we haven't done that. My daughter probably has. She loves, she's got a great palate. I'm not quite the palate, I don't have it, but she loves it. So she probably has hit many of them.
yeah. So other things you like to do for fun, or have you hit the pickleball bug yet?
I have not, and I have to be great at it before I pick it up. So I'm not there yet. So I literally, I mean, I
You're
think
not getting
that's what
on the court with Betty Jane anytime soon, I guess.
no, there's just no way I'm going to do that until, I'm really good at it. But I mean, I run, walk, I had a couple of knee surgeries, so it's not running is
Yeah.
not as, prevalent, but I still do my 10Ks. I used to run, I did the New York City Marathon a couple
Oh,
times. I always had a goal of continuing to do that, but
yeah.
my body's not doing that anymore. Love to travel. Been to Brazil a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
I traveled, with my job. I've probably been all over the country, playing I don't know if there's a school that I really haven't been at yet.
Wow.
As far as, been to Berkeley, I've been to Virginia many, many times,
Yeah.
Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
So I've been up and down the coast. So in the country, traveling pretty significant. Out of the country, not as much as I'd like. I've been to Madrid and Barcelona, and then I've been to um, Scotland and England. I took a team out there, so that was pretty
Oh,
fun.
cool. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. But and met on one of our baseball trips, my son and my daughter and I, we walked to Mexico, just so we say we went to Mexico. And thankfully he's fluent in Spanish because he got us through, because I think it was a little sketchy at times. I was like, I don't know how to get a cab. I don't know. But yeah, we had a great day. And then a little more challenging getting back in.
I was gonna say.
But it was an adventure. It was such a great
Yeah.
adventure. But we were in San Diego seeing and hop, skip, and a jump right there. So
Yeah.
that was pretty fun.
That's funny. All right. So remind us all of your clubs and teams and activities you did back at East.
Yeah, well, I'm singularly focused. I was, involved in, I actually played softball my freshman year. I didn't, and I shouldn't say bad things on this, but I didn't like the coach. You know, so I was like, get me out. Do you remember the freshman softball coach?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Debbie Yarish gave him a nickname. I won't repeat it.
Okay. Well, I decided to play lacrosse after that experience. And, I had Sue Schooley, who was,
Mhm.
amazing and such a integral part of why I'm doing what I'm doing in my
Yeah.
life. She was my champion. All my coaches were, but she made me play lacrosse basically. Like, she's like, yeah, you got to come play. And, it was such a good decision for me, but she was just always my cheerleader, always supporting me, and, created really good opportunities for me. So I can't thank her enough, and sad that she's not with us anymore. But um,
Yeah.
I was, I look back, I said earlier, what era to be in. I will never I just had such impactful women leaders in my life in that time when it was so important, that I just feel so fortunate and so blessed. So I was
Yeah.
really lucky.
So you
So
played basketball as
yeah,
well, right?
yeah, I was basketball, lacrosse, played softball for a year, actually swam my freshman year for about a hot second. I went to tryouts, and there's a couple similarities when I'm listening, because I was a lifeguard at Old Orchard that Robin
Oh,
Garland got me the job
oh
there
wow.
in our nice maroon uniforms. Remember those maroon bathing suits? Or you were after
We,
me,
I
maybe?
was after you. We actually went and picked our own.
Okay.
So as a group, we got to pick our own. So
Yeah, no,
um,
she got me that job one summer. Going into my first year of college, I had six
okay.
jobs that year, and I was like, I'd get up at 6 a.m. and go train, and then I go to
Wow.
work, and then I was working at the Johnson School at the Arts and Crafts, and
Mhm.
anyway, and I also worked at Woodcrest Country Club as a bus person
Oh really? Okay.
back in the day. I think I was probably one of the only girls that were working there.
Oh
Yeah, but
wow. Yeah, so those are your jobs, and those. Did you do any clubs, or not that you had any time, but I
Yeah,
imagine,
no, it was like a gym aide. I think was something just to, say I was in some other club besides sports. I was
yeah,
as I said, I was so singular focused, which it got me where I am today and I'm happy about it, but I have some regrets, especially as I'm listening to this and such interesting people that did interesting things. And I'm like, yeah, I never, I would have loved to be friends with Reggie Wu and his
yeah.
experience and so, amazed at his accomplishments that he had, but we didn't really interact in that much in high school.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't. I think my conversation with Reggie was the first I ever had. And speaking of, here we are. We've got the
Oh, nice.
Heavens Ed's t-shirt on, supporting the locals. Okay, so you left, and so graduation, and you went on to Maryland. What did you actually major in at Maryland?
I was kinesiology. So
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, I thought of going into teaching for a little while and I
Hmm.
didn't like the classes that I had. So I was like, I can't do this. So exercise science,
Yeah,
basically, and I thought I was going to be an exercise physiologist, whatever that is. Back then I didn't, fitness was huge and thought I wanted to stay active and it was really important to me. So didn't
yeah.
didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point.
Yeah, but you did many things with that.
I did.
So my next question is there a class or teacher that influenced you? And you mentioned Sue Schooley. Anybody else?
Um, so we had, and I don't know if anybody has said this, but we had a English teacher, Mr. Hansel. Does
Hmm.
anybody remember him? So one of those classes, we had to do, and this is just part of my nature is I'm uber competitive, hence I'm doing what I'm doing. But it was like a reading class, like not reading in that, but it was read books, and
Okay.
you got a grade for the most pages. It was counting pages. And I wanted to win, of course. So love that book. I think we used to call it like story time. And I read everything, it was from trash to, which went really quickly, to like sports biographies. But that was a fun class. And then I had Mr. Smythe, who was the cross country coach.
Yeah, yeah.
He was great. And Dennis Cole, who was your tennis coach.
Yep.
He's amazing. He's somebody you should get on here. I saw him at the
So Dave Cole. Was
I
it?
mean Dave Cole. Yeah, Dave Cole. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I saw him at the the Hall of Fame, the
Yeah,
Cherry
yeah.
Hills Hall of Fame that which is kind of fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
Um and ran into him and Mr. B, of course,
Yeah.
who helped in basketball at some point, but I never have him. Oh, I did have him for a class actually, which that was a fun class. I'm married to an accountant, so having those doing us our tax returns in a class, I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. I didn't, but
You could
yeah,
fake your way through though.
yes, I could.
Yeah.
But Karen Fitzpatrick, Sue
Oh yeah.
School, they
Yeah.
were, as I said, I was so lucky. I'm a little older than the Title IX, but we kind of caught the benefit. I mean, I just had every opportunity to go to anywhere I wanted for school. I wasn't the scholar that you are, but I was able to create a lot of opportunities because I
Yeah.
was, my athletics. So
Yeah.
that was really fun.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So did you have a high school sweetheart?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that I'm glad you had Dave Brawley on here because if he didn't say it was me, then I could be lost for words. So yes, it was Dave for, a bit of high school. Yep.
All right. And so you said your husband went to Maryland as well. How'd you guys meet?
Funny story. He was in our dorm complex. I don't know if that was the way it was in Virginia, but there was a boat cruise in Baltimore and they were trying to
Oh,
generate people to go. So they had this like you fill out your interests, the people will fill out their interests. And he was my, I want to call it computer date or was
it was done
pre
by hand.
yes, it was done. It was literally, I got 3 names on a piece of paper. His cousin lived on my floor. I knew him, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like we interacted a lot. As I said, he was the joke in my family is like he was the valedictorian of his high school, and I was, he went on an academic scholarship. I went on an athletic scholarship. My kids give us a hard time about it all the time. But yeah, very different, great. He's a CPA and wonderful, wonderful man. I'm really, really lucky and a great partner.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you have friends from East you're still in touch with?
I do. I do. Obviously the Fab Four, as we call
Yeah.
ourselves. And happily we get together as much as possible. I'm actually going down to Philly again this Memorial Day weekend, and we're
Oh,
hopefully
nice.
be down. I'm on some committee for lacrosse, so I get to go to the championships, and I'm working. But uh, so we got to get together, and I do this thing where as I said, I travel a lot for random like NCAA conventions or whatever. So one time I went out to the NCAA convention, I ran into Katie Quo, who you should probably get onto this.
Yes.
I don't know what her married name is now, but she'll probably get on here. But I ran into her, and I don't know, my brother and sister were a year ahead of me, and they Charlie Ambrose, Chuck Ambrose, he was at the same place at the
Oh,
same
wow.
time. He has a story. He's a year ahead of us, but a
Yeah.
story higher ed career. He was president of two universities, and
Oh, wow.
I saw him at a conference, and I'm like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I pulled out the bio, and it's like, oh, and he played soccer with my brother. But so Katie Quo and we, the three of us, got together in Kansas City, and
Oh,
that was really fun. And then Kathy Bell Somer,
yes.
who she get on here because she's great. But I go down to Virginia every summer for a week to do a camp and a clinic, and I run into Kathy as much as possible.
Where is she?
She's in Fairfax County.
Oh, okay. So she's in Northern
She's
Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, she's retired.
Okay.
She went to Duke, and then obviously got her master somewhere. But she has two beautiful girls, and yeah, she's as funny as
As
ever
funny as
still.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
think
but
I've reached out to her on Facebook, but I don't think I've heard back. So if
she
you,
might,
you
yeah, she
put in
might
a
be mad at me.
plug. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll text you her number. I'll twist her arm. But
All
yeah,
right. No, yeah.
yeah, we actually lived together when I was working at Georgetown. I lived with her in
Oh,
Arlington for a short period of time. She's a big deadhead, follows the Grateful Dead, like, and her mom and her sister and her husband and her daughters, like, yeah, they're big dead. You're gonna ask about music. I'm
yeah.
not a deadhead. I can't, spend that much time on that. But I could appreciate people that do and the talent that they have.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody you were tight with, you lost touch with?
So many. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard you say, all the people in, the number of people in our class, and I don't know where that fluctuates, but like I
Yeah.
remember, I'm thinking of like the homeroom, they spent probably 4
Yes.
years together.
Yeah,
So
like
like
because they often made you sit in
yeah,
your like,
alphabet.
alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Tacey Fox, I remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mindy Estep, we
Yeah.
the E's and the F's, and certainly, I mean, Greg Deegan I see on Facebook every once in a while, but I'd love to connect with him. I'm actually Bernie Donaldson. I went
Oh,
out
okay.
to Chicago like 2 years ago, and we met for a drink, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
so
nice.
envious. Yeah, he's another one that it'd be great to get on here because he
Yeah.
still stays connected with that group of guys, and their
Oh,
socials can be they called themselves the Manly Tankers back in the day. So I'm not sure if they're going to stick to that, but that's what they did. I think they did, unless they changed that. But yeah, it was great catching up with him. He looks the same. He looks
same.
great. Um, and so yeah, I try, like, as I said, I ran into people when I was coaching, and their daughters were playing. So Kathy
Oh,
Zeverline,
yeah.
her daughters played, and I went, and I was at a recruiting event, and some people in older classes and younger classes, and
Mm.
kind of directed them places as far as recruiting help. But yeah, that's been fun, and it's always great to set it, like, who's from Cherry Hill, how do we connect.
Oh
um
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you do run across anybody, just yeah, give 'em my cell phone or whatever, tell them to get it. Because again, my goal is to kind of hit as many of the 700, 800 kids in our class if we can. That'll keep me busy for
Yeah,
most of my retirement, I guess.
yeah. I always say 1,000, so I guess I'm really exaggerating, but
You know what I have heard again, it was funny. I just interviewed Sally Ann Thomas Gowan, and she had the same number in her head as I did, which was 777.
oh wow.
And that stuck in my head, and she had that same number stuck. But I've heard 800, I've heard 1,000. So I don't know what we started with, but we had a lot. We had a
Yeah.
lot. So do you have a standout memory from high school, an experience, a high, a low, a friend, interaction outside of school?
Well, I know that we've talked about being state champs, and
Yeah.
we had well, I have a couple, but I have so many memories, but
Yeah.
good memories. But we did have a party at my house after we won the state championship.
Which
I
was
think
senior year or sophomore or
senior year, it was in
senior?
November. My mother, God bless her, like I never had parties. I was, I'm the youngest of eight. I was never allowed to get away with anything like that. But she was up at my brother's, he was in a performance, and yeah, we had a party, and it was one of those parties like, tell a friend and then they tell a friend. And it was, I don't think the cops came, but they might have. But if and there's our memories are clouded, but I think Connie Rocco hit a car in front of our house.
Ooh.
It was, but everything was fine. It was wild. It was like a big party. Yeah, that was a fun memory. I never had one of those in high school. Um, I also lived down the shore with Betty Jane actually this summer going into our senior year, which I don't know what my mom was thinking to us. But as I said, I was singular focused. So we were like, I was a chambermaid that she talked about.
Yeah.
She got me the job, but we also, went out at night, and we trained, like we had, I think that helped us in our field hockey success, but we played a lot of field hockey that summer, played in a basketball league, but had no rules, no boundaries, no barriers, no nothing. So that was a fun memory. And then I think this might come from somebody, but we had a sorority in high school.
Yes.
That was, yeah, and I don't even I can't even believe we did that. And we did some really bad stuff. The Hell Night and the, crazy stuff. So those were fun memories though. And obviously, playing
I
all the
think there, a
sports.
few of those activities might have been considered hazing.
Definitely. And, I work in higher ed and I work with athletics, and I'm like, ooh, I can't tell those stories at all. Cause, wow, actually you might have to cut this part out too, but
Yeah. That's right. No names. We will protect the innocent. It's
yeah,
I
but
think
yeah,
the statute of limitations is gone.
yeah, I laughed at you the other when you were on a podcast. I just mark my words. I never cut class. I'm like, okay, I have to remember my memories there like that. No, there was, as I said, I had a great experience, and the winning the state championship, which the four of us hold on to, and there were seven of us, and back to like these strong women being inspired, but all of us went to college to play in some capacity, and I think that's rare.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good memory. I had some really great friendships there, and then going to the football games, and I still laugh. Like I think I had two Big Macs on my way home from the football game, stopping at McDonald's. Like I don't know how I did that. I would never go that way. But yeah, so yeah, there are really good memories and great teachers and great classmates. I wish as I listen to all these podcasts, I wish I had the ability to kind of branch out a little bit more. And there's so many good people that I would have loved to have been in good, like, solid relationships with and connected with them still. Like Robin and I were friends in Heritage.
Yeah.
I do take the claim to fame that I was her campaign manager, and we used to make buttons for her, her student council stuff. So
Oh, okay. Back at Heritage as well, or
yeah,
oh, okay. Campaign manager. Look at that.
yeah. Behind the scenes, piano tuner, not the piano player. That's my jam right there.
Oh, that's great. Is there anything else you wish the classmates knew about you either then or now?
I mean, I think that's it. I just wish, like, reflecting back, I think I wish there's so many missed opportunities of really getting to know some really great people. I mean, I just am really enjoying, listening to these podcasts and listening to people's, it just warms my heart when I hear about people having really good experiences. And that's my memory. And maybe I block out some of the bad stuff, but, yeah, I just think that I really, again, I appreciate you doing this, because it just brings back some, like, just good, warm feelings. So yeah, I just wish I had connected more. I'm going to go back to New Jersey. That's where I'm going to, that's my home. So, being away and being so far from, those little easy connections, like I didn't get to go to Sue Schooley's funeral, which I would have loved to, and I was trying to manage it, and so I miss those things as well. But just, I feel very, very fortunate that I had the experience, and I wish it was, a little richer because of,
Yeah.
time and things.
Yeah. So you have been able to go back to the school and be back in the building. Yeah. And that was for what
I actually,
activities?
I went recruiting. I think it was, I want to say it was Kathy Zeverline's daughters were playing
Ah,
there. So, and she has twin daughters, and they're, I think, married and have kids now, or at least married. So that was a long, long time ago, but yeah, not too often. My mom, 95, still crushing life.
oh, that's great.
Back. So blessed, and I have a really good gene pool, so I'm gonna be around forever. But yeah, so she was a school teacher in Cherry Hill. When she retired, she moved out of Cherry Hill, so the connection was a little harder. My sister is in Merchantville, and my brother's in Marlton, so brings me back. And then I went to a couple of the Hall of Fames, when Betty Jane was inducted and Karen Fitzpatrick was inducted when I was inducted. So I'll
Cool.
got to see some people.
How did it feel walking through the halls?
It was weird. It was just like, I don't know. It just seemed like old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Everybody
flash.
says it really hasn't changed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. When I say old, it just is like the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're back in 1980 and you just graduated and you're looking out 40 years. What is this where you thought you'd see yourself?
Wow. I definitely didn't see myself in Maine.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew I'd do something with athletics and sports. I mean, it gave it, I was I'm the youngest of eight. My mom was a single mom. It saved me. It did everything for me. And it does everything that I believe in, is like, you know, teaching you adversity, learning life lessons. And so I think I was going to always be doing something like that because it was so impactful to my upbringing. But I didn't know what exactly it was. At one point I thought I was going to be a sports psychologist. So who knows,
Yeah.
which, true believer in all the benefits of that. So, but yeah, I definitely saw myself in doing something in athletics. I
Did,
definitely thought I'd be in Cherry Hill still. I really
oh,
thought I'd be living, next to my mom,
yeah. Did you have a dream job that you?
well, professional athlete. Like
Yeah.
there's
Okay.
women professional
There
teams.
really wasn't much of an option for us at that time.
Yeah, and I'm a legend in my own mind. I probably couldn't have made, a professional team, but in my mind I could have. But yeah, I think, you look back at the opportunities we had versus the opportunities that are out today, and just seeing
Sure.
how women's sports has blown up, and,
Yeah.
ice hockey is now like, sellout crowds, and college
Yeah.
basketball. So excited to see all that. But I mean, I guess that was my aspiration back then, but a
Yeah.
lofty goal, unrealistic goal.
Well, that's all right. You made quite a career for yourself. So the best piece of advice you would go back and give your 18-year-old self, or maybe you gave your 18-year-old kids.
Mm. I think getting out of your comfort zone, it's just, you know, I think that, we look back at East, and we had groups. I think we talked about this, like, the jocks, the smart kids, the kids that hung out in Sea Wing. It's like, it kind of touches on what I talked about earlier, is like, get out of your comfort zone, go find somebody else that's different from you. I don't think we do that enough. I like to think that I do that now more just because of my work, but I think that would be something as an 18-year-old I'd want somebody to know, so they can go out there and travel and, do something that they're not really comfortable with. And I think you
Yeah.
learn a lot from that.
No, absolutely. That's great advice. Still, even to this day, I mean, I think, some of us need to get out of our comfort zone. So,
I'm sure you're experiencing sitting behind the mic right there. And, I say it looks very fluid, but I'm sure you're thinking, and I, thought twice about, oh, what am I going to talk about? But so yeah, you're living my advice right now, Kara. So good for
okay.
you.
Well, thanks. All right, so we have reached our fast and furious finish, which is often not any of those things. So, did you have a favorite TV show or movie or book that you enjoyed from back in high school?
Yeah, 1,000 books. I'm still an avid reader. Like, I remember reading like Inner Tennis, which was like a, focus
Hmm.
book. And then, Bob Pettit was like a famous basketball player, Drive, and so I was a reader, I think. I watched all the TV shows. I watched World Sports and, you know,
Yeah.
Sunday basketball. So I had to fight for the TV in my house. So I don't really get a chance to, being the youngest, I had to fight for everything. So I didn't get a chance to get my shows on.
Well, there's your competitive edge. You were the youngest of 8.
Yes, yes.
So did you have a favorite group? You mentioned that didn't do too much with music, but favorite group or artist or genre that
I like the James Taylors, the mellow, music, but I equate music with memory. So a song, like We Are the Champions,
yeah.
or like, there were so many songs in that era, like Pure Prairie League, the Amy, and
Hmm.
that just brings like triggers some memories.
Yeah.
So those more so than groups. Believe it or not, I like country music now.
Yeah.
So, well, you from the South
I've
would
been
probably,
coming down. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Maryland, they're, I think, what is it, south of Baltimore is considered the South. So,
yeah.
um, so did you have a favorite place to hang out or eat with your friends that you guys used to eat at?
Yeah, I'm surprised everybody hasn't said about it this, but the Cowtail Bar, we were
Yeah.
like, we used to, take the place over and sing song. We were so obnoxious. I would kicked us out. Um, but yeah, that was fun. And then, Ponzio's, and Kathy Bell, where I mean, she worked there, so we'd visit her every once in a while. But yeah, and then Kaminsky's is right around the corner from my house, and I probably didn't do that as much as adult. I didn't spend any of like my 18 plus years in Cherry
Hmm.
Hill as much because I worked all summers or I trained.
Yeah.
So I didn't spend as much of my, older years. And I wasn't going to Kaminsky's when I was in high school. I mean, it's probably, when you didn't skip class, I didn't sneak into bars usually until that summer in Ocean City.
You're almost 18 then.
Well, I was the young one too. I didn't have my
Oh, yeah.
birthday summer. So I was like, always
Okay.
like,
Okay. So you remember this person?
ugh, I hate that picture. Yeah, I don't like the turtleneck. Back to my whole MO is like I wanted short hair because I had to always be in sweaty clothes and sweat. So yeah, I don't like that picture. And I would burn that. I don't think I have that anywhere in my life except when you just showed it to me. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Throwback. We all had to wear those god awful cowl necks. That was like the required dress for the photo. Yeah, hated that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So I've changed that last yearbook question since we've kind of beat that up. So the question I've changed it to is what language did you take in high school and have you ever found it useful?
I took French. I
Okay.
had Miss begins with a Kayla, I think she married a teacher. Kegel, I remember. Blonde, beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, and we play games and in the family at dinner, and we'll guess words and stuff. So that's the extent of it. I haven't been to Paris. My son is actually I have a one of my sons is fluent in multiple languages.
Oh,
He's
wow.
he's the one that lives in Brazil, and he speaks Hebrew and he speaks Brazilian and Spanish, and he teaches. So he does. But my other son spent some time in France. I have a quick story because I know we're running out of time. But we had an exchange student from France, and my son is like, I want him to come. Then I get to go. Please, mom. Please, mom. And it was my husband's a tax accountant, so it was during busy season. I was a lacrosse coach, so neither of us were home the entire time. And so he came, and he probably had a great time. My daughter was a year older, was driving him around. They went to every kind of hockey. We're close to New York City at the time. So yeah. But my other son got to go there, and now they're friends. So he gets to, you know, chat with him. And so, but French I never really used, just for, board games and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I was a linguist.
Yeah, I think that being fluent in another languages would be so useful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And
Good.
well,
Yeah.
that's good advice for 18-year-old.
Yes, yes, for sure. Good for your son for doing what he did.
Yeah.
All right. So lastly here, anything you want to tell someone or anyone or everyone who might be listening in from our class and some others who are tuning into this podcast?
No, I don't have those great words of wisdom, but I do appreciate that everyone has that same, on the whole, I think has that same feeling. Because I've talked to people and they're like, I didn't like high school. And I think it's really tough for this generation of students and 18-year-olds that are, it's so hard. And so I'm so happy that we had this good experience. And I'm so happy that I believe we had a good experience. I'm speaking for people, but, from what I'm hearing, it's just refreshing to see that, other people had that same experience. And I wish that for everybody, because it's such a formative point in your life. And, it really kind of defines a lot that you're going to do moving forward. And so having the confidence, having the support, having good friends, having, empathetic people in your life, it's really important. So I'm glad we had that. Or that's what I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast today, Celine. It was great catching up. It really was.
It was so fun. And, as again, it brings me some joy, brings back some really great memories.
Yeah. Well, if you find yourself in North Carolina, shout me out. And if I happen to be in Maine, I'll do the same.
Yeah. In the summers, come in the summers.
Come this summers. Yes.
We actually got 6 inches this morning. So I was hit or miss whether I was going to make it into work.
Oh, wow. That's nothing up there though, right?
Yeah. And they clean the roads. It's very different anywhere else.
Yeah.
So,
There's
it's nothing.
I think there's one snowplow in all of North Carolina. It's never where I am. All right, Celine, you take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and early 80s. This is Kara Siegel,